This is how you can coach yourself to be a better speaker. And the best thing, you don't need to pay thousands for mentorship. You can do it completely free. And to do so, we are going to use the 3R method: record, reflect, and repeat. But today, we're going to work on the second R, and that is reflecting. But in order to reflect efficiently, we need to be aware of the mistakes we are doing. If you're not aware of what you shouldn't be doing and what you should be doing in your communication and your public speaking, it's going to be very hard to improve. And if you want some guidance, there is a link below, and I will send over 10 things that you can concentrate on whilst watching yourself back. In this video, I'm going to use my Toastmasters speech, the last one that I did, and it was all about eliminating filler words. But when you do this process, you need a video of yourself speaking. This could be a speech, it could be a presentation. You could literally just sit down and record yourself for 5 minutes, exactly how I'm doing right now, and speak to the camera. But if you don't have a video of you speaking, it's going to be very, very hard to reflect. So first of all, make sure you've got that video, and then you can look into the process of reflecting. Now let's get into it. You're probably wondering, what happened to my nose? Well, I got in a fight with a hammer, but the only thing was, I was holding the hammer. Right there, I've used a callback to create some sort of humour. Everyone's looking at my nose because I've got a little plaster over it or some butterfly stitches. And by using a callback, it makes it very unique to that speech. I could not use that callback in 2 months' time because I wouldn't have that bandage on my nose. So it makes it very specific to this audience, which makes them think you are thinking of them. Something to improve on right there. When I said about the hammer, my pitch went up. Your pitch normally goes up when you ask a question. My pitch should have gone down. And on May 11th, 2019, I also got in another fight in Australia, but this one was Perth. But this was a sanctioned fight, an MMA fight. And just how I'm standing there, I want to be a little bit more square to the audience, a bit more open. And if you were stood in front of me at the HBF Stadium, you would have seen my post-fight interview. I'm there, my shoulders back, gold medal around my neck and a smirk on my face. What I'm doing there with my hands on my hips, I'm not a fan of. Better to keep them by my side or bring them up. Do not bring them past my head. Don't bring your hands past your head unless it's something that you want to exaggerate. But if you're in the start of the story and it's nothing that you want to exaggerate, keep them between this zone from your hips up to your chin. Rob leans in with the microphone and goes, "Stafford, that was a great performance. Could you tell us a bit more that happened in the cage tonight?" I looked at him with a smile on my face and go, yeah, that was simple, effective violence and that. Yeah, you know what I mean and that. Rob looked at me as if to say, this interview's over. What I said held truth, but how I said lacked credibility, and here's why. If you mess up, just carry on. I messed up a little bit there with the script, but I just paused, got my words out, and then went on to the next section of the speech. Raise your hands if you can read this message behind these post-it notes. Oh, have we got a hand there? All right, I've said raise your hand. There is, I'm going to say, around 20 people in this room. There's a reason that I didn't say how many can read this. I've made it unique to the individual. I'm talking to the individuals. I'm not talking to the group here. Talk to one, look to all. When you are asking any sort of questions, make sure you put you or your in the question, and it's not a general question for everyone. Then it makes them feel like it's more of a conversation than you're giving a speech. No. The reason that you can't read it is because of the clutter. The clutter makes it hard to digest, hard to understand. And in speech, your clutter is your filler words. Filler words occur when you are thinking of what to say. And whilst you're thinking, you may say words that consist of
ah, like, so, but, yeah, you know what I mean.
I should have sped up my tempo. The rate of speech should have gone a little bit higher there. So far in the speech, we're 2 minutes in, I've kept a consistent rate of speech. There's nothing that's really stood out to me where I've gone really fast or I've gone really slow. If you vary up the tempos, it makes it more engaging for the audience. Right there, when I'm saying a list, I could have done it fast. But, you know what I mean? Yeah, so. And then go back to speaking slow again. So then it emphasizes certain points.
And there's probably more to the list. And even if you're really, really knowledgeable in a certain subject, if you use these filler words, you will sound less competent and confident than you actually are. But if you start to peel these filler words away and take them away from your speech, not only does it simplify your message, not only does it make it easier to understand, but you also sound more credible. And you do this by pausing and by breathing.
Now, before I go into the actual process to eliminate these filler words, if you want some more tools in the bag to help you speak clearly and confidently for meetings, presentations, and speeches, check out the first link below. And all I ask for is your email. Now, let's get back into the speech. I've just got this clip off my YouTube channel. That dude knows what he's on about. Listen to that dude in the corner there. Check the first link.
Okay, we're gonna do a little task. Everyone, bit of yoga. Finger to thumb, finger to thumb. You don't need to sit down on the floor, just where you are.
I've said everyone. I've not spoke to the individuals there. I shouldn't have said that word.
We're gonna breathe in. We're gonna breathe out. We're gonna breathe in. Now we're all gonna say and breathe out. We're gonna breathe in. We're gonna do it again. Now we're gonna breathe in, breathe out normal. Now this time you're gonna breathe in, but try and say Now breathe out. Do the same again. Breathe in, breathe out. Can you see the difference there?
Can you see the difference? A question to the individual. Great. That's a good point.
When you breathe in,
I've also used an activity. I've made the audience get involved because often you give a speech or a presentation, especially if you're at work, and you will see people going to sleep. If you give them something to get involved in the speech, they are less likely to go to sleep. They're less likely to have their mind race off into their own thoughts, thinking about something completely different to what you are speaking about. Activities make it a very interactive speech. It makes it more engaging.
you can't say a word. The only thing that you can hear is yourself gasping for air. Which means if you can't say a word, you can't say any filler words. So when you're about to say a filler word, you need to process in your brain, okay, I need to breathe in right now and not breathe out. Because if you breathe in, you physically can't say these words. But that is a lot easier said than done. How can we actually build this into a routine that can stick and we can actually do it when we're speaking to a partner, in business, or even just with your kids? If I ask you, how many red cars have you seen today? You're probably going to say none, or you're going to say one. But now, because I've asked you this question, tomorrow I bet you see more than one red car. And it's not because there's no red cars today. It's because you're consciously aware of these red cars. And somehow, we have to do the same thing with filler.
I could be moving with a bit more purpose here and kind of pacing back and forth. Either stay still or move to a spot. You don't want to be going back and forth for 30 seconds. You can do it to get to your next point on stage, but if you do this, it starts to become a pattern which takes the focus of the audience away from what you're saying and instead of you moving back and forth.
Words.
And then again, look how I'm stood. I'm not quite open to both sides of the audience.
Do this with the 3R method. Record, reflect, repeat. We'll start with record.
That is exactly what we are doing right now.
5 minutes per day. You're going to go on a walk. Walk about.
We're doing the reflection part.
Think of a topic. Think of a question. Tell a story. But you have to think of it right there and in the moment. It needs to be spontaneous. If you plan it before, you will think of combinations of sentences to put together. And when you do that, it's more of a planned speech. You are less likely to say these filler words. That's why it needs to be spontaneous. Number 2 is reflecting. You need to watch it back and see what filler words you use. Because you may...
You see how we are reflecting right now on an overall performance. But you can reflect for certain aspects of your speaking. You can reflect for your tonality. You can reflect for your pitch. You can reflect for your filler words. You don't have to look at it as a whole. If you have a focus for the week, which I tend to do when I'm trying to expand my skills, I'll have one focus. Because you have too many focuses, it sometimes starts to get a little bit confusing.
Use a different filler word to your neighbour. And think, okay, I said there. Could I have breathed in? Paused a little bit.
Right there, can you hear a bit of a vibration? It's because the voice is in my throat. The voice is not in my chest and my diaphragm. I want the voice to go a little bit further down into my diaphragm, because when I speak like this, it vibrates a little bit more into my throat. And if I speak all the way up here, it goes into my nose. I want to make sure it's down here, because then I will have more resonance whilst I'm speaking. It will be projected better throughout the arena when I get to arenas. At the moment, it's a small room, but when you are speaking to bigger crowds, even on the microphone, you can tell when people have resonance in their voice.
And take a breath. And then that takes me on to repeating. You don't go to the gym. Do one bicep curl and expect to have big biceps. You get big biceps from doing the reps, doing the sets, and repeating it frequently. So this 3R routine, you need to use these tools and do it daily so you can make it a habit. With these 3 tools, not only will it build awareness when you say these words, it will also build awareness when other people say these words. And when you start realizing when your other half is saying filler words, when your business colleagues are saying filler words, and when you're watching podcasts and they're saying filler words too, it'll make you more aware when you're saying these words, and that will speed up the process. So with these 3 tools, I want you to go weave a better world with your words. But remember this, if you remember one thing from today's speech. If in doubt, breathe in instead of out. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Right there at the end, I used a simple phrase. The reason I did this is to make it very easy to remember. But what I should have done is use that when I was talking about the breathing in and breathing out. I used that on the very, very last line of the speech, but I should have used that when I was talking about the breathing and whilst I was going through it a little bit more. So that simple phrase drilled into them, because I'm not just speaking to be remembered, I'm speaking to be repeated, because if people repeat you, they will definitely remember you. And then overall, I want to improve upon is varying my rate of speech. And this is something you can improve in if you want to be more engaging. If you're doing presentations and you feel like people are switching off, they're turning the light off and they're just not concentrating. If you vary up how you are speaking, sometimes really fast, sometimes really slow, because when you speak really slow, you are paying more attention to what I'm saying right now, even though it has no importance. But if I start speeding up a little bit, it's not quite as important with what I'm saying. But by speeding up and slowing down, you are making it more engaging. Not only that, but also varying up the tonality and the pitch a little bit more. I kind of stay at a similar level. I want to go a little bit higher, and sometimes I want to go a bit lower, especially when I'm using dialogue. But they're the 2 points of focus for myself. And if you're watching yourself back, try and find 2 major points that you want to focus on. 2 or 3, because then you'll have something to work on. And when you have something to work on, you start to be your own coach and you will start to improve in your communication. And once your communication improves, you will create more opportunities for yourself. Whether that is creating more business opportunities, whether that's making more sales, whether that's making deeper connections with your friends, whatever it is, the communication will hold a major, major impact in all of these areas. And like I said before, link below, I will give you tips over 10 days, 10 of the main things that you need to concentrate on within your communication that you can use to expand your knowledge and your skills, which will then create more opportunities in your life. YouTube is also a very, very smart blogger, so you might want to check this one also.